It's surprising that Chinese consumption is actually lower than that of India and Africa. This completely overturns the perception held by the Chinese public. The global average consumption rate is as high as 75%, but China's consumption ability is far below the global average, even lower than India's 77% and Africa's 84%.
Look at us, running around every day. You see, many mid to high-end restaurants this year have set up stalls on the roadside to sell meals. It's indeed hard for many businesses right now. Ordinary people have no money in their pockets. Even those who have money are not spending it. Think about it. Even big restaurants are now selling takeout. No one is going to restaurants anymore. This is a big cost. Even ride-hailing services and taxis are affected. Just look at the supply chain for these restaurants. It involves so many people. China's economy faces persistent downward pressure, with increasingly challenging living conditions for mainland residents and declining consumption. Yet the latest macroeconomic data from the Chinese Communist Party suggests an improving trend. On July 15th, China's National Bureau of Statistics reported that second quarter GDP grew 5.2% year-on-year at constant prices, down 0.2 percentage points from the first quarter. For the first half of 2025, GDP rose 5.3% year-on-year, surpassing the 5% annual growth target set at the March 2025 National People's Congress. Despite the upbeat official data, comments and official reports are filled with veiled skepticism and dark humor, reflecting widespread public discontent, though such remarks risk censorship and deletion. A netizen sarcastically remarked that the second quarter faced Trump's trade war and oil price fluctuations from the Iran-Israel conflict. Despite significant international pressures, the domestic economy stability was surprisingly resilient. Fan Jianchuan, the verified director of Sichuan Jianchuan Museum, posted on Weibo that second quarter GDP grew 5.3%, coincidentally matching a 5.3% rise in residents' income. As a cultural tourism business, his museum lagged behind, with no growth but a double-digit decline in the first half of 2025. He noted the predictable 5.2% GDP figure for Q2, suggesting the annual GDP must hit or exceed 5%. With Q1's 5.4% growth signaling a strong start, a Q2 figure of 5.2% creates a smooth curve, aligning with the economic resilience narrative. He called the MBS data unreliable. Lai Rongwei, executive director of the Taiwan Inspirational Association, told Radio Free Asia that the CCP's pressure-driven authoritarian system lacks robust public oversight. Under this high-pressure regime, officials face intense demands to meet spurious targets, risking their political careers and personal stability. In a severe economic climate, this leads to absurd practices and questionable data. Regarding July's data, a user posted, Great. The economy is doing so well. I was too excited to sleep. I ate 2 cornbread rolls by my bedside and drank a bottle of 1982 tap water. Felt so happy. The user's comment is sarcastic. Eating cornbread and drinking tap water hardly signals happiness. Cornbread symbolizes poverty and meager meals, while 1982 tap water mocks the inability to afford even bottled water. Such sarcasm underscores a sense of powerlessness and mocks the official narrative, indirectly confirming China's dire economic situation and signaling a consumption downgrade. On China's social media platform Xiaohongshu Little Red Book, posts tagged consumption downgrade have garnered over 1 billion views in recent months. Users share tips on replacing expensive goods with affordable alternatives. One user jokingly called Tiger Balm a new type of coffee, while another quipped about applying perfume only between the nose and lips, just for themselves. By 2025, consumption downgrading has reached extreme frugality. Spending is highly restrained, prioritizing basic needs and minimizing non-essential expenses. A blogger noted that people are extremely cautious with spending. For example, picking up a child from school used to mean buying 2 grilled sausages, one for the child, one for the parent. Now it's just one. Under consumption downgrading, market offerings have shifted significantly. In Shanghai, a meal with 1 meat and 2 vegetables costs just 12 yuan. Pizza Hut's budget outlets sell fried chicken for 9 yuan. Cha Panda offers drinks for 2.9 yuan. Mishue ice cream and tea has 1 yuan ice cups, and even Michelin-starred restaurants provide 398 yuan value meals. Consumption downgrading is particularly evident in dining. A restaurant owner's video revealed declining revenues, with high-end restaurants closing en masse, leaving little room for survival in the market. If this continues, our restaurant's closure rate will break a new record this year. People's spending on dining continues to decrease. Since March, our revenues have dropped by 30%. This has become a widespread phenomenon. Many of us are still holding on, hoping that when the busy season begins in May, we can recover. The owner remarked that, unexpectedly, the situation in May and June didn't improve, but worsened. Hotels have turned to street stalls or takeout to ease the strain, but these are mere band-aid solutions. Many small restaurants saw revenues drop by over 50%, a dire situation. July's food delivery price war dealt another blow to cautious owners. Meituan, Alibaba, and JD's platforms dragged restaurants into a brutal price battle, luring customers with cheap takeout and leaving physical stores emptier. The fierce subsidy wars among these e-commerce giants have worsened the plight of the already faltering restaurant industry. Consumption downgrading is also starkly evident in clothing, with noticeable shifts in consumer behavior.
This is the women's clothing and shoe store I opened with over 200,000 yuan, and it hasn't made a single sale in 3 days. How's your business been lately? I'm almost on the verge of collapsing. Although business has been tough in recent years, I managed to hold on for the past 2 years. In May, I made a few tens of thousands, but in June, suddenly there were no sales. I just calculated, and I barely made 10,000 yuan in sales, which isn't enough to cover the rent. Now, every day, regular customers just come to browse, try on clothes, but they don't buy anything. New customers, I haven't seen a single one. I've been posting on Douyin and sending 20 posts a day on my WeChat, but no one is coming into the store to make a purchase.
A blogger shared that investing 100,000 to 200,000 yuan in a clothing business with no sales for days causes intense anxiety. New stock, rent, wages, and even travel costs for sourcing goods are major expenses, excluding inventory costs. Halfway through 2025, her pockets are empty, and with summer break nearing, current sales data suggests she can't afford her children's summer classes. Mid-range clothing brands, once popular in China for affordability, now face weak demand as consumers tighten budgets, forcing them to compete with lower-priced white label brands. White label involves one company manufacturing products for another to sell under its own brand. High-end brands face similar struggles. Nike lowered its full-year growth forecast, citing weaker demand in Greater China. A Mintel report shows Chinese consumers now prioritize functionality over fashion, with 59% of respondents valuing the product over the brand when buying clothing and accessories. Bloomberg's chief Asia economist Chang Shu and economist Chu Tianshi stated that pervasive pessimism is stifling household and business consumption and investment. Consumption extends to entertainment, where box office revenues are declining amid downgrading. The China National Film Bureau reported that first half 2025 movie box office revenue reached 29.23 billion yuan, below pre-pandemic levels. In 2019's first half, revenue was 31.17 billion yuan, with 808 million admissions. Movie consumption is a gauge of domestic demand, as most cinemas are in malls, where moviegoers often buy drinks, snacks, and shop afterwards. Declining willingness to watch movies is evident in 2024 data. In 2024, annual box office revenue was 42.5 billion yuan, with 1.01 billion admissions, down 22.6% and 22.24% from 2023, and 33.86% and 41.51% from 2019's pre-pandemic levels. Beyond clothing, food, and entertainment, tourism also shows consumption downgrading. A Zhangjiajie travel influencer recently asked, "It's peak season, so why is Zhangjiajie empty? Where are the crowds from past years?" The influencer noted that in July, tourists typically waited 2 hours in previous years, but now there's no queue, with only a few tour groups present. Zhangjiajie's tourism is sluggish in 2025. Mainland China's internet has seen topics like, "How little can you spend to stay alive?" A blogger suggested buying instant noodles online at 2 yuan per pound, eating 1 pound daily for 2 yuan. Cheap snacks cost a few cents. Eggs provide protein at 3.5 yuan per pound, or 0.45 yuan each, one eaten daily. Vegetables and fruits come from morning market's imperfect produce, enough for days from one trip. If embarrassed, cover your face, nobody knows you. For meat, discounted pork shoulder at 8.8 yuan per pound yields 50 grams daily, about 6 slices, more than takeout. This totals 3.5 yuan daily, covering vegetables, fruits, meat, and staples, 105 yuan monthly, or 1,260 yuan annually. A blogger argued that weak consumption stems primarily from insufficient income. Income discussions should focus on the median, not average, which can be skewed by outliers like Jack Ma. Employment is a core of income, but with China's economic downturn, widespread business closures, layoffs, and salary cuts reduce incomes, inevitably eroding consumption over time. The blogger emphasized that income relies on market economy, tied to market rules and industrial growth. Sustainable consumption growth depends on fostering a healthy business environment, global leading industries, and a robust social security system. Without tackling these core issues, squeezing people's meager savings is futile, rendering official stimulus measures ineffective. YouTuber Uncle Lying Flat, with over 100,000 subscribers, questioned why June's 618 sales event and subsidies failed to boost total retail sales of consumer goods. This shows consumption cannot be stimulated. On June 15, the National Bureau of Statistics reported June's retail sales of consumer goods grew 4.8% year-on-year, down 1.6 percentage points from the prior period, below expectations. Seasonally adjusted month-on-month, sales fell 0.16%, a 0.85 percentage points below the previous value, marking the first negative result since May 2024. In early 2025, China introduced old for new subsidies for appliances and cars, doubling the program's scale to 300 billion yuan from last year. Authorities also raised retirees' basic pensions by 2%. Recent reports indicate at least 6 cities and municipalities halted old for new programs, with most local authorities blaming insufficient Beijing support. Zhengzhou and Luoyang officials were outspoken, while Shenyang and Chongqing used milder excuses. On July 22nd, U.S. economist Milton Ezrati wrote that, despite officials blame shifting, the root issue is funding shortages. Worse, these shortages force local governments and state-owned enterprises to cut salaries and jobs, with wages falling across the public sector, including at the China Development Bank. Kaishi Media reported that about 27 state-owned financial firms have cut salaries, with unverified rumors suggesting a 30% reduction. For some, this is the second pay cut in 3 years. A June 24th Yahoo Finance report cited Nomura Securities' analysis that one-off subsidies cannot sustain consumption. The old for new program's net impact is expected to drop from 0.9 percentage points in the first half of 2025 to 0.4. Nomura warned that consumption decline is not short-term sentiment, but a structural issue. In 2024, Northeast Securities chief economist Fu Peng stated at the Phoenix Bay Area Financial Forum that consumption reflects individual preferences tied to risk tolerance, income savings, and future outlook. With sufficient wealth, people consume naturally without needing stimuli. In recent years, shrinking middle-class home values, with some facing negative equity, have reduced consumption willingness. Nikkei reported on July 21st that Shanghai's Zhuang Chenzan, who bought an apartment in 2017 for 2.2 million yuan, now strictly controls spending to repay his mortgage. The apartment's value is now under 1.8 million yuan, with most of his salary going towards the remaining 300,000 yuan loan. Zhuang, a 42-year-old nonprofit worker, said he lost about 1 million yuan in real estate since 2022, enough for a Porsche, with his wealth vanishing in years. An unimaginable blow. For Zhuang, old for new subsidies didn't spur spending beyond a 700 yuan refrigerator in 2025. Economic pressure persists. He hasn't had a raise in 3 years. Planning to marry, he abandoned hopes for a large home, saying he must save in case of unemployment to cover the mortgage. In short, people are cash-strapped. either truly broke or increasingly fearful of future financial strain, leading to more rational spending and less frivolous consumption. In this climate, CCP's stimulus measures are futile. As a blogger noted, squeezing people's meager savings is pointless.